So there we are in Florida. The dreams lasted just 7 months. What happened?
So one morning I woke up after a party with a friend of mine. It was a Sunday morning and we started to throw frisbees to each other. And he said to me, we should give this all up. We're clever enough to go live on an island around Miami. There are lots of little islands over there. We can make a living. Why are we working so hard? I looked at him and I said, that's a brilliant idea. Let's do it. He never did it. He became professor of pharmacology. And I walked into my boss's office the next day and said, I'm leaving. I'm going. I'm not going to do medicine. I've decided not to. And he had set me up with a laboratory and a technician. And
oh, wow.
So I had
a real jump off the cliff.
So I I just left. And I left with my girlfriend at the time. She also left her job. And we became artists. And
hold on. You don't just become artists by answering an ad in the paper or something.
No.
How did you become an artist?
She knew something about painting, and I just bought a piece of wood and started to chip that piece of wood. And anyway, of course,
this was the 60s, or when are we now? This is
1970.
Yeah. Okay. So that's forgivable.
But I wasn't making any money.
No, that wasn't.
Anyway, one day this guy walked into our house that we had met the day before at a coffee shop. And he was much older than us, and he looked at us, he said, you guys look very unhappy. I said, yeah, we're artists and we're not making any money. He says, well, you must go to Europe. Because in Europe, the governments pay artists to do things. So I said, well, that's a good idea, but we had cars and boats, and what are we going to do with all this? And he took out a checkbook and he said, how much do you think it's worth? I said, $20,000. He wrote me a check for $20,000. He said, now off you go.
No.
I never signed anything off to him. The next week we were gone. And we went to Europe and bought a Volkswagen Combi and started traveling around. And this was the middle of hippie time.
Yes.
And I can still remember sitting in this Volkswagen Combi, and my girlfriend turned around to me and said, well, where do we go now? I said, I have no idea. I didn't know where to go. I said, let's go to Germany and to the Volkswagen factory, and maybe we can get a box put on top of the car. We needed some space. And so we went to the northern part of Germany where the Volkswagen factory was, and there was this massive campsite with hundreds of hippies, all with Volkswagen Combis, getting their Combi fitted out. We started to ask questions from them, where to go next, and that's how my journey started. And we traveled around Europe for about 3 years.
Wow. What was happening to you as you were doing that? Were you just in a sort of chilled out
we were hippies.
Holiday?
We followed the hippies.
Hippies.
We were professional hippies. We were in Vondel Park in Amsterdam, down south. Smoking a lot of cannabis at the time. And I think that's, again, opened my mind to another way, because I was a very, very straight doctor. Yeah. I didn't do anything really unusual. But here, I was totally into a different reality.
Your boundaries.
Suddenly, this is a new world. It was really, really exciting. And this inner journey became more prominent for me. I never realized there was inner space.
Yeah.
There was outer space. And I had been looking outer space for my happiness.
Uh-huh.
But there was this inner space. And one day we decided to leave Europe and go to Sri Lanka, and went to say goodbye to some friends, and they said, come inside. There's a guru inside. I said, a guru? What's a guru? I didn't know what a guru was, but anyway. We went inside and there was this Indian man all dressed in robes and turban on. And people were asking him questions. And his answers were so clear and so precise, and I thought, wow, this guy is really quite unique. And I still remember the question I asked him. That was 1973. I said to him, I'd been to a nightclub the night before, and there was one reality with my eyes open, but there was another reality with my eyes closed, which is the real world. These seem to be two separate worlds for me, an inner world and an outer world. And he said to me, there's no difference, it's only your mind that's making the difference. I'm not sure I understood him, but he said to me, if you're ever close to India, come and visit me.
Huh.
And we were going to Sri Lanka. I forgot about the guru. We went to Sri Lanka, and again I thought Sri Lanka was going to be the answer for me. That's where my happiness was going to be. Beautiful island, coral reefs everywhere, lots of cannabis. In fact, I started to even make inquiries about residency there. And then one day I was unhappy again. And I thought, I'm unhappy again in such a beautiful place. Something is going on that I need to find out about.
Okay.
So I remembered the doctor, and he said, come to me.
Oh, he was a doctor, was he?
He was a medical doctor, actually. That's why I kind of trusted him as well. And I remembered him telling me, come and visit us in India. And of course, all the hippies were traveling between Sri Lanka and India and back again. But as a South African, it was impossible to get a visa. They wouldn't give me a visa the first time. So I wrote to him and said, I want to come visit you, but they won't give me a visa. He said, go back to the office, you'll get a visa. And I thought, wow, these guys are really magical. Anyway, I did get a visa. I didn't know at the time that one of his disciples was the Minister of Health.
That's a sort of different kind of
I
miracle.
a different kind of miracle. But anyway, so eventually I went to Delhi where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still remember there were about 20 Americans living in this one room. He had the second room, there were only 2 rooms.
Wow.
And the first week I was there, I went to him and said, I want to visit the Taj Mahal. He said, why do you want to see the Taj Mahal? I said, well, it's one of the 7 wonders of the world, and for South Africans to get into India was impossible. I may never have a chance to do it, so I want to see the Taj Mahal. He said, not a good enough reason. Go back inside. So I went back inside, and now I started to listen to what all the people there were talking about. And I went back to him a week later and said to him, I need to see the Taj Mahal. He said, why do you want to go? I said, it's going to raise my consciousness. He just laughed at me and said, terrible reason, go back inside. This went on for weeks and weeks. Every single week I went back to him thinking that I had a better reason.
Got it.
And he kept just laughing at me and paid no attention. A week before I left India, I went to sit in a park. They had beautiful parks there. And I sat down under this tree and said, I'm not going to get up from this tree until I have a good answer for him that he can't refuse. And I sat under the tree maybe 2 hours, and it suddenly occurred to me what he was trying to say, that the Taj Mahal that I wanted to see out there was inside me, and that I had to find the Taj Mahal in myself. And that turned me around completely, from looking outwardly for my happiness to the recognition that what I was seeking was inside me.
Phew.
And that was the
Wow.
Taj Mahal story. And then I knew that, well, I never saw the Taj Mahal,
No, well,
except 20 years later when I went to visit it. But yeah, I didn't need to see the Taj Mahal, but then I knew that there was a journey that I needed to take inside. So we followed the doctor. He was invited to Europe. We went to Europe with him, and then back to America with him. And then we went to visit my girlfriend's parents in Canada. And we stayed in Canada for a year. And then when she became pregnant, we decided to come back to South Africa.